Halloween Kills is a sequel to the 2018 Halloween movie, which that movie ended with Laurie Strode and her daughter and granddaughter locking Michael Myers in the cellar of Laurie's home and then lighting the house on fire. No big surprise, in this movie, Michael Myers escapes from the burning house and once again begins to kill indiscriminately in the town of Haddonfield. What's different this time is that now the whole town knows that Michael Myers is back, so a bunch of them get a posse together and they decide to try and hunt down Michael Myers before he kills again. I very much enjoyed the 2018 Halloween movie. I thought it was suspenseful, it had some really good character development, the dialogue was pretty decent, and it had some cool camera work and an awesome musical score. So what did I think of this movie? I thought this movie overall was just vile, and it was really silly, too. Everything I liked about the 2018 Halloween movie was just completely thrown out the window for this one, and it substitutes like the slow, brooding suspense and the good character development from the first one, and it just focuses entirely on just showing just plain, brutal, disgusting violence. There is so much blood gushing out of people's mouths and just blood spraying from people's necks and brains being blown out the back of people's skulls. It was just so disgusting. Like I feel like Sinbad in the movie House Guest when he's describing how he was in a shark attack and he says, "Oh, it was blood and bubbles and butts and my friend, his head came off and his eye was on me. His eye was on me." Like this movie is just like, oh, and his knife went through the eyeball and out the top of his head, blood sprayed from his mouth, his brain splattered on the sidewalk. Like, oh my gosh, it was just relentless. The 2018 film had some violence in it, but I mean, overall, it was pretty reserved compared to a lot of the other horror movies out there, but this one just doesn't hide anything. There are no scenes of implied violence where you hear something terrible happen off screen and you're just like kind of cringe because you know something bad is happening. It's like, no, they just stick the camera right in there, over and over again. And the kills in this movie just aren't even that like fun to watch. I mean, there's that scene in the 2018 film where Michael Myers stomps on his psychiatrist's face, and like, that was a pretty funny scene, and it was nice to see a bad guy get his comeuppance. But a lot of the violence in this movie is just sad to watch. Like, you're just like, dude, just leave that poor lady alone, man. What's your problem? I don't know. It just felt really, really personal in this movie, and it was just, I don't know. It was just weird. The dialogue in this movie is also really bad. There are several speeches that people give in this movie about like, how the only thing we have to fear is fear itself, or like, Michael isn't the monster, we've all become monsters, and then like someone staring out the window says, "It was 40 years ago today, the night it all happened, that night which we'll never forget, the night that he came home, that night 40 years ago, because that's when evil happened 40 years ago that night." It's just weird because the dialogue was very good in the 2018 movie, and it had some touching moments between, a paranoid grandmother dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder, who's trying to protect her daughter and granddaughter, but she's pushing them away at the same time. And that was a really cool relationship dynamic that they explored, and there was nothing like that in this movie. I'd say my biggest problem with this movie, however, is just how everyone is a complete idiot. Every stupid person horror movie cliche that you can think of is present in this movie, and it's just painful to watch. People will be hunting for Michael Myers, and they know he is in the house or he's in the park or wherever, and they're breathing because they have their gun out and they're like doing that rapid breathing, and then they'll like see a body out of the corner of their eye, and then they'll go running over to the body, they'll put their weapon down, they'll put their flashlight down, and they'll just stare at the body and be like, act all shocked and everything, and then Michael Myers inevitably jumps out right at that moment from the side or from behind them, or like everyone decides to split up and they all are like, "Hey, I'm gonna go in there alone. If you see anything, just honk and let me know, and I'll come and get me." Just, yeah, everyone's a moron. The movie, I would say, the movie is suspenseful, but it's really cheap suspense. Like, this whole movie is like, most of this movie is just someone sitting in their house and they hear a noise, and they get up and they say, "Hello, who's there?" And then they look around the corner really slowly, and then they do that breathing. They do and then they open the door and there's nothing there. And then Michael jumps out from the side and kills them in some gross, disgusting way. And then they show a scene of the hospital, and then they cut to another house and they do the same thing over again. And it's just, yeah, same shtick over and over and over again for 2 hours. What stood out to me the most about the 2018 movie was just how well it was filmed. Like the cinematography and the lighting were just spot on. They had that really cool scene in the hospital where the podcaster pulls Michael's mask out and all the patients start freaking out and the sirens start going off, or like that cool one shot or like that tracking shot that they took of Michael moving from house to house and picking up different weapons and killing people, or that I don't know, that cool scene at the end where Laurie Strode is it Strode or Stroud? I don't know. Laurie Strode is checking all the rooms to find Michael, and she gets in the bedroom and it's full of mannequins, and you're just like waiting for one of the mannequins to jump out. And Halloween Kills was just flat, dull, dark, and boring. The camera work was very disappointing, and it's extremely disappointing because this is the same crew that made the 2018 version. So like this movie feels like it was made by a completely different team. I don't know what went wrong with this movie. It's also frustrating because this movie is filmed in a world where no one has a cell phone. Like there are so many moments where I'm just like, pull out your cell phone and call someone to come and help you. Like they'll show someone on their phone talking with, like at the beginning of the movie, they show someone talking with their friend on the phone, and then when they're walking on the side of the road, they see an injured person, and so they put their phone away and they run over to the injured person and then start screaming, "Help! Somebody help!" And I'm thinking, you idiot, call 911. You have a phone in your pocket. And then like the posse members will split up, and like no one coordinates with anybody. And then when they're confronted by Michael, he's slowly walking towards them in the middle of the street while they're running away. And it never occurs to anyone to pull out the cell phone and call the guy in charge of the posse and get some backup. Like it's really weird. The final thing I'm going to say about this movie is that Michael Myers is invincible now. So we can throw that grounded feel that we got from the 2018 Halloween film out the window, along with the other stuff that I said you can throw out the window. Yeah, I mean, in the 2018 movie, Michael did take some pretty hard hits, and it was kind of hard to swallow that he would be able to shake off these injuries so quickly. But at the same time, I was able to suspend my belief by saying, yeah, well, maybe he's just like a genetic phenom, like he's a 1 in 100 million human being that is just like abnormally strong and maybe super resistant to injury. But in this movie, he's just flat out invincible. Like you can't suspend your disbelief anymore, and the only explanation for him surviving the punishment he takes in this movie is that there must be some sort of supernatural element that they're going to explore in the final film. But that's unfortunate because no one wanted to see that. No one wanted to see a supernatural explanation for Michael's superior strength. I briefly just wanted to complain about some spoiler stuff, so you can turn off the video now if you don't want to hear any spoilers. 3, 2, 1. But I thought the ending was just preposterous. The ending shows the townspeople, they end up cornering Michael Myers, and one of them shoots him in the chest like 5 times, goes through his chest and out his back. And then 20 town people show up and they beat the living crap out of him with baseball bats and crowbars and stomp on his head. And before this, he had been stabbed full force in the back with a pitchfork twice. And then during this scene, it's kind of like a montage of them beating the crap out of him. And Laurie is giving her like, "Oh, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself" speech over the montage footage. And then, you think, oh, okay, that's going to be the end of the movie. But no. Michael Myers picks up a knife and then just starts massacring everyone. Like, what a twist. All 20 people getting their throats slashed, getting knives through the eyeballs, all that. After getting 5 bullets through his chest and out his back, being stabbed with a pitchfork and having every bone in his body broken with crowbars and bats. And then at the end of the movie, he ends up killing Judy Greer, Laurie Strode's daughter. I had mixed feelings about that because I was like, oh shoot, that's a bold move. But then I also thought, oh, great. So now Michael Myers is a supernatural human being. And the entire first film and all the lessons we learned about family sticking together in the first film, that's, we'll forget all that. So I don't know. It was depressing. I was just like, wow, you're really going to end it that way? I didn't like it. Easily the most disgusting scene in the movie was when the townspeople are inexplicably losing their minds in the hospital. They all go to the hospital to find the sheriff, and then the sheriff locks them in because he doesn't want them going out to find Michael Myers. And so they all get riled up. They're like, evil dies tonight, because, I guess normal people say stupid stuff like that. But they end up deciding to hunt down and kill a patient who escaped from the mental hospital the same night Michael Myers did. Like there's a mental patient that walks in the hospital, and he's like a short, fat, old Danny DeVito looking guy, but for some reason everybody thinks that he's Michael Myers. And so a bunch of doctors and nurses and soccer moms start chasing this guy through the hospital, chanting "Evil dies tonight." And then they end up cornering the guy like a bunch of idiots. And then he breaks a window and jumps out of the 5th story and just splatters on the concrete. Now, most movies would show like a brief shot of the aftermath, or just kind of cut away to people reacting to what they just saw, like some guy committing suicide. But no, this movie just straight up shows a close up of this poor guy with the back of his head just splattered all over the sidewalk, blood gushing out of his mouth. His arms are all twisted with bones sticking out, and he's twitching. And geez, the violence in this movie was just sickening. So I don't know. Those are my thoughts on the movie. If you disagree, let me know what you thought of the movie in the comments below, and I will catch you next time.